Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought we'll have a bit of fun. You know, Christmas is, well, I say round the corner, obviously it's, you know, a little bit of a way away yet. But I just felt like doing something a little bit different. I've been kind of doing lots of journals lately and things like that. So I just felt like kind of just doing something completely different, but obviously still within the crafting kind of world. So I'm just going to reach up and get my little piece of paper that I like to kind of ink onto so that I'm not doing it onto my surface. So I've got here a whole load of things basically. So if I just kind of show you. So what I've done as the base of my card is I've taken this buff coloured card. You have to excuse my fingers, I have been inking up and things and making a mess really all morning. So I've taken this buff coloured card and then I've just printed out this kind of logo onto the card. So that's what I'm going to use as my background. It was just an A4 piece of card and I've literally folded it over and run my bone folder along it. And then I've printed off a bunch of kind of vintage Christmas images. I might try and put some together as a little kind of card making pack, but I don't know whether I will kind of get round to doing that. So, you know, please just, you know, ignore me if I don't. So what I've done, I've obviously cut this one out, which I thought we'd use on the first card. And might as well just get started straight away. And just make it look really old and yummy, really scrumptious. We love that old look. And I mean, you know, this isn't a tutorial or anything like that, because I know that, you know, loads of you make cards and my gosh, you know, amazing cards, way beyond anything I could ever hope to make. You know, I'm really not that adventurous when it comes to making cards, but I just thought we could have a bit of fun. So, you know, kind of grab your stash and craft along with me. That would be fantastic. So it may be a little bit on the early side for a lot of you for, you know, the Christmas thing, but I just felt like doing something a little bit different, to be honest. You know, because I have been working quite solidly with kind of journal-y type things. I just wanted to kind of break away from that and do something, yeah, just completely different really. So I've brought along literally just a couple of pieces of card that I thought we could layer it up with. And all I'm doing is going through my stash, because I'm sure, again, like all of you out there, I've got like tons and tons of things. Weirdly enough, I haven't got much Christmas themed stash, because over the years I kind of have had Christmas stash and then I've kind of done away with it really, you know, because I've found that obviously then I've had loads of it left after Christmas. So I've tried to kind of resist buying any Christmas themed things for actually quite a long time. So, you know, and I mean a few years now. So I really am down to kind of my bare minimum of kind of Christmassy themed things in, you know, that I kind of have left. So what I'm kind of doing really is using non-Christmas related stuff that I just thought I could kind of make do with, because, you know, it's kind of very tempting, isn't it, to always go and buy some more stuff, buy some more products and things. And to be honest, it's really the last thing that I need to do. So I just thought that, you know, I'm going to just try and literally just make some Christmas cards, literally just using the things that I have literally got in my house already. You know, which, as I say, I literally have barely got any Christmas themed things at all. I mean, it all fitted, you know, in a kind of 12 by 12 envelope, was all the things that I had. And actually they're really kind of scraping the barrel stuff, like really ancient and kind of scraps of paper, that kind of thing. And lots of it very brightly coloured, not, you know, not vintage looking at all, and, you know, not kind of the type of style that I perhaps lean towards now. So I just thought I'll make do and kind of, you know, see what I can come up with using things that aren't Christmas related. So just literally kind of roughing up around the edges here of my cardstock, which not Christmas related. It says the word chocolate on it, although, you know, probably like most of us kind of do tend to eat quite a bit of chocolate at Christmas. And then what I thought I'd do is kind of layer it up on this red paper, which to me looked quite festive. Again, you know, not Christmas related, it's just kind of from an old paper stack that I had. And then layer it up onto some sheet music. Just wondering whether I should do it the other way round. So, would it look better the other way round? Let me just tear this. Yeah, I just thought let's come and do something fun, a little bit different. Haven't made any cards like for absolutely yonks. I mean, you know, not birthday cards, not Christmas cards, not anything. And sometimes it's kind of nice to just kind of go back to, you know, our roots, or, you know, in my case, back to where I kind of started really. So I started with the, you know, card making. So it's kind of nice to do that. And I literally just grabbed anything that I thought, oh, that might go, that might go, that might go. So I brought along some flowers, brought along one of those Tim Holtz, you know, flowers, and some of these big flowers, which I thought, you know, we might even kind of glitter them up. So let's just have a look. And I had this ribbon that I think this came like on a box of chocolates. So again, you know, I'm just kind of literally grabbing things to kind of use up stuff really. So this has just been laying in my drawer, I mean, like for the longest time, you know, years. Haven't really known what to do with it. It's that wired ribbon. It might have even been around a box of crackers actually. I can't honestly remember, I've had it for so long. But I just thought, let's try and make a bow. So I just literally, before I kind of started filming, tried to kind of tie a kind of bow on here. I just wondered whether we could kind of have the bow. It maybe, you know, looks too monstrous, in which case, you know, we won't bother, but I maybe could just make it slightly smaller. And if I just cut those kind of legs down. I didn't want the legs kind of too uniformy, so I'm just kind of doing them a little bit random. I didn't want them too perfect. That makes sense. So that's kind of a better size really now. You know, for the image of Father Christmas there, or Santa, however people refer to him. I also have this kind of gold mesh net stuff. Again, God only knows where this even came from. I just, again, seem to have just had it for the longest time. And I just thought, well, maybe we could kind of make, you know, make something from that. I don't know whether kind of we will. So I was debating on whether or not to have the red, but actually I think the red does kind of add a little bit of something. So, wow, that glitter from the ribbon just really gets everywhere at my son's desk. He will come back from school and wonder what on earth's been going on his desk with it literally covered in gold glitter. So, just literally take that and pop that on. Like that. And then I must admit, I do love Christmas. I really do. Not as much as I kind of used to. And I don't mean as a child, because of course, you know, as a child I loved it. But I kind of, as a young adult, really, really loved it too. Yeah, probably not as much as I used to, but I do still love it. It's such a really fun time of year, isn't it? And I love the whole Christmas Day thing, you know, where everything is closed and, you know, you can't kind of do anything even if you want to. I quite like that, because I think very rarely do we have those days where everything is closed and, you know, we kind of literally cannot do things, can't pop to the shops, can't, you know, you have to kind of make do with what you've got in the cupboards, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I like the fact that the roads are kind of empty, everyone's indoors, it's just really, really nice. And of course the smell of Christmas, I like the smell of the Christmas dinner. I mean, actually I'm, you know, I don't eat meat, but I do still really like the smell of the Christmas dinner. It smells really fun, doesn't it? And smells really nice. Now, I just grabbed a few little just scraps of lace that were just laying around on my desk. Oops, that's actually got some glue stuck on it, so I'll just cut that off. Just because I thought, you know, maybe could get rid of some of that kind of stuff. I did wonder whether I might be able to actually paint some gold glitter onto that lace. Let me just retrieve back the piece I just threw in the bin, or the carrier bag that's beside me. I'm just going to try painting some gold glitter on here and see kind of how it looks, just to make it look a little bit more festive. Because sometimes things take really well and look really great, don't they? Obviously other times they don't. I might be overdoing the glitter now, but just see. Hope I'm in frame. Let me just stand up and check. Yep, hopefully that's fine. So could have a bit of glitter there on that lace. That's quite nice actually. So what I might do, yes, so I'm going to glue my Father Christmas image down. Okay, just glue him down like that. Then I'm just going to literally cut along here so that it's not so huge, like that. And then again, I like to kind of, you know, what I call kind of vintaging the edges up. And I go quite mad here because I want this to look a little bit more textured. So even if it kind of tears slightly, I actually quite want that. So it's kind of, you know, got some height to it, if that makes sense. So just do it like this. Oops. Oops. Going really mad tearing it now, just along that one side for some strange reason. I don't want to tear a lot on that side, so never mind. Right, so do we like that glittered lace? I quite like it. Just going to see how that would look kind of with that gold bow, which I've obviously still got. And then we could have this down here. And then I've got this here, Christmas greetings, sorry, which I just typed and I've just printed it on this buff coloured card. And again, I just thought, let's just tear this. Like that. Yes, I mean, I have to confess, I'm not even that great at sending Christmas cards anymore because I think just, you know, I mean, kind of sadly really, they're kind of becoming a bit of a thing of the past, aren't they? And, you know, I don't think a lot of people tend to kind of send them or anything these days, but I just I quite like that across there. I know that seems a bit strange, but I quite like that. So I am going to glitter this lace up because I thought that does look quite nice actually. So again, I'll just get this little tube of gold glitter. And I mean, again, even these glitters, I've had them for years and years. You know, I'm literally kind of scraping the barrel here with my supplies, but I didn't, you know, I didn't want to kind of go out and spend a load of money or, you know, buy a load of things. And I just think, probably like all of you guys, actually I just need to start using some of what I've got. So I mean, even like this little scrap of lace, I mean, I guess a lot of normal people would have thrown that in the bin, wouldn't they, because it was such a tiny little piece. But, you know, not a crafter. We like to keep every single little piece, even if it's minuscule. So I'm just going to leave this to dry to one side for a moment. And then whilst that's drying, oh, I'm at my son's desk. Let me see if I can pinch a piece of paper from here. Right, got a returns form here. So I'm just going to literally ink this Christmas greetings up. And I quite like it, you know, where the edge kind of curls. If you kind of then ink up pushing in, then it kind of makes the edges curl over a little bit, which I rather like that. So just to kind of make it look very nice and vintagey and, you know, really nice. And then I'm just going to get this one back because we haven't inked around the red. So we'll just do that quickly. Yeah, it's kind of quite nice to actually do a bit of card making today because, you know, I haven't really done any card making for such a long time. And this is really quite fun. Okay. Yes, I'm certainly not somebody who would make all of my Christmas cards. I did do that one year. Oh gosh, years and years ago now. And now I kind of, actually I'm a little bit baffled how I did do that because, yeah, it must have taken ages, but I think that was all I did at the time. I don't think I kind of did scrapbooking or anything else. So although it was a kind of massive task, it kind of, that was my only crafting outlet. So, yeah, see how I had time to do that. I had these little plastic kind of, I don't know what you'd call these, like just embellishment pieces. Now they were bright pink, so you can maybe see that. I don't know whether I'm in frame, let's have a look. They were bright pink. And years ago I kind of, might have embossed them, I think, with embossing powder to get rid of some of the pink. It didn't work overly well because they're kind of a plastic resiny finish. So what I've just done, again, just before I started filming, was I just took a couple and literally glittered them just as we just did with the lace. Now I can't find the other one. You see, as with all of my process videos, no sooner have I started filming than I'm instantly just in a mess. So I just kind of did that just to kind of see whether they would take. And actually it has taken. So I just wondered about using those. I mean, again, this is just all within that kind of using stuff up really that's been kind of laying around in my house for the longest time. So I just wondered about that. And then behind here, to kind of have some stuff going on in the background, I did wonder whether we could just pop a couple of kind of, you know, roses or something like that. Now, I'm just leaning over just to get something. I'm not doing anything, you know, doing anything wildly exciting over here. I am launching a new kit digital kit. I need to make the journal for it, so I haven't actually, you know, kind of launched it just yet. But these are some pieces from that new digital kit. And there's some corner pieces which are really, really useful. So I just wondered about kind of if we could use those, if I kind of inked them up and pop them on, just so it's got kind of some extra colour kind of in the corners. Might be better just to have another large rose. I'm just literally leaning again across, just trying to get another couple of bits. Oops. And there's also included in the kit are these gorgeous tickets with the little robins on. So I did also wonder about those to kind of decorate the card with. That's quite nice, isn't it? So we could have that. So this is all in the new kit that will be coming shortly. I literally just need to kind of complete a journal using the kit, and then it will be ready to launch. But I like to kind of have something to showcase it before I actually kind of go ahead. So that's why I haven't kind of launched it just yet. So that's the only reason. So I quite like that. So what I might do, again, just rough up the edge of this playing card from the kit. And then I'll just ink this slightly. Don't really need to ink all of it, because obviously some of it's going to be tucked in behind here. But I quite like that, Now, you see, I don't know whether this is kind of a bit big really to fit in here. Could have it there, but then obviously you don't see the robin at all, in which case there's no much point. But it does add a bit more interest to the card, which, you know, is quite nice. I've just found that little trim was stuck on a piece of card just to the side of the desk. So I could have it like that, and then could have this little rose down here, or not, or I could try the corner piece down there. So what I might do is glue this one down, because I know that I like that there. Oops. My glue's really misbehaving at the moment. It's literally kind of was blocked completely, so I had to kind of cut the end of it. So now obviously it's very what's the word? Oozy. It's very oozy, kind of obviously oozing out everywhere. So yeah, I have to kind of wipe it up and mop it up a little bit, otherwise it's just going to be everywhere. So that's quite nice there. And then if we want to have this here, ink that like that. So even though that's going to be tucked behind there, it's kind of you know, nice to have it inked up, isn't it? So oops, just ink it up like this. And the time is probably just ticking by, so I probably actually only get time to actually do you know, this one card. So the irony is I've bought a whole mountain of supplies down here with me, or up, yeah, down here with me, and I've actually only achieved one card. So That's just not great, is it? Right, so we could have that like that. Let's just have a look. And we might have that flower, we might not. We could have one of the red flowers that I bought along. Maybe that's kind of nicer. And also I've got that piece of glittered lace trim that we could just, oops, just have that poking out somewhere, kind of like maybe underneath there, just like that. That looks quite pretty then, doesn't it? Also, I punched out a couple of Martha Stewart butterflies, but in kind of red glitter, so we could kind of have one of those somewhere. Because it's quite nice to have, you know, glitter on obviously Christmas things, isn't it? I also have got this lace trim, which I'd bought this along for my Gypsy Rose journal, thinking I may have used it on there. It was just white lace that, I mean, it came glittered, it, you know, that's how I bought it. And then I coffee dyed the whole ream of it. And I haven't used it for the Gypsy Rose journal, so I did wonder whether we could use it here. So that's why it's kind of here. So we could have that kind of there, which looks quite nice. I'm just going to stand up and kind of see how that's looking from up above. So it looks quite nice. So do we like this down here or not? I don't know whether it really adds very much or not really. Just going to kind of just stress it like that. Try it again. Just kind of adds a little bit of colour in that corner, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this lace trim down. Just here, like that. Just do it like that. Don't know whether that's kind of caught under there. And we'll just have the Father Christmas kind of up here. So we've got this lace trim here. Oops. Then what we could do is obviously we could stamp in the corners also. So I'm just going to do these little leaves here as well, because actually more of them were showing than I thought. So just literally kind of rough them up as well. Just distress them. Just glue this one down. Bring the tissue back because that glue is very oozy. Oops. I'm just going to kind of dab it off and mop it up slightly. And then before I commit to the flower, I have actually got a few different flowers here. So, you know, we'll just kind of check which flower looks best. So, there we go. Just ink that like that. the lace all sticking on me. Right. So I think that's pretty nice, like that. So I'm going to stick this gold lace here. Yes, I don't know why, but I've just had this urge to be doing some Christmas cards the last couple of weeks. So, you know, I just thought, no, I'm going to do that today. So I hope that I'm not kind of really putting everyone off, because, you know, I realise that obviously most people who watch are watching for the junk journals, and, you know, they're probably fantastic card makers anyway. You know, you guys, you probably can make amazing cards, or probably do make amazing cards, and so this is maybe just completely, you know, of no interest whatsoever. So I apologise if that's the case. I just kind of, you know, had an urge to do something a little bit different, and just thought I would bring you along for the journey, just for fun, really, just because sometimes it's nice to do some different things. So, you know, obviously I do apologise if this is not really kind of something that you guys are really too interested in. I just thought it was nice to do something a little bit different. Now, I might glue this down with the hot glue. So I'm going to do it in 2 sections. Oops. So just press it down like that. And then I just do this underneath part. Like that. And then I rather like that here, and I like the bow kind of to the side. So I'm just going to pop this down. Actually, I'm going to do this with the hot glue as well, only because obviously where it's gluing onto is kind of lumpy, you know, because of roughing it up with the scissors. So I want to make sure it kind of glues down quickly, so I'm not having to kind of weigh it down for ages. So we've got that like that. Oops. And then here we could have this gold bow to the side. Could have, oops. Oh, come on. I quite like the butterfly there. I think it's, you know, adds a little something something. And I'm just deciding here which flowers to go with, whether to go for a kind of big giant one, which, you know, does look really nice, or I've also got some little brown ones here. They might be quite nice. I'll just cut one of those. Could have it kind of like that. It's quite pretty, isn't it? And actually probably could just glitter up the edges of this brown flower. Just so it has just a touch of gold on there. Just kind of makes it a little bit more festive. So I'm going to pop this little butterfly down. Now my glue's now running out. It's kind of one extreme to the other. just dab it off a bit onto the tissue, because obviously, though it wasn't coming out, when it does come out it's oozing everywhere, so I don't want kind of too much, so I'll just pop that there. And I'm going to stick this whopping great big gold bow down. Make sure I don't go over the Christmas greetings sentiment there. Just kind of do that to the side slightly. Spread the wings out. I don't know why I call them wings and legs. Must kind of, to me, just look like a creature of some kind. Okay, and then I do really quite like this Tim Holtz flower, so I think what we do is kind of pop that down here, like that. And then we'll just pop this one in the middle, like that. So obviously this is still wet, because obviously where I've just dabbed that gold glitter on it, so I don't want to kind of touch it too much, but just enough to be able to obviously stick it down. I might need to dab on a little bit more glitter, because I might have just wiped most of it off. There we go. Oh, very festive. Now, final kind of touch for me is to just now rough up around the entire edge of the card. So again, I mean, I really like doing this. I think it just finishes things off and makes them look really nice and vintage, like that. On this kind of seam edge too, and then what I'll do is just literally kind of distress ink down the edge, just so it's completely kind of vintage looking, and then down this edge. Okay, that's that complete, I think complete, so I don't feel it needs anything else, and yeah, looks really nice. Now all I would do is either kind of an insert can go in here of another sheet of paper, which obviously could be stitched on the sewing machine or stapled in or glued in, you know, glued would be fine. But obviously, you know, I haven't got my sewing machine or the piece of paper or anything else at the moment, but that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. So I think that's super cute. I've had quite a lot of fun doing it, so I do apologise if kind of Christmas card making is not really your thing. You know, if you do normally watch my channel and you just think, oh gosh, what's she veered off into now, I just fancy doing something a bit different, so I really like it. So, I mean, if you want to stay with me, you know, that would be absolutely amazing. I thought I would just do another one, because I've just checked the time. We're just over 30 minutes, so about 35 minutes. So I thought we'll do another one now. So I'm just grabbing another piece of card from beside me to use as the basis for the card. So I'm going to move this one to one side whilst it kind of dries, and then I will just get another piece of card here to use. So this one here, as you can see, hopefully you can see, hopefully it's in frame, I have just printed half of this one with the kind of background, you know, which I think kind of works perfectly well. So what I'm going to do, I will just fold it over, and I'm just looking around the desk. I don't think I've actually brought my bone folder with me now, because I had obviously folded that other one before I got started. So I'll have to kind of wing this one a bit. So I will just use my handle of my scissors, which, you know, just as good. Like, whoops, like that. So excuse me, I just knocked the lamp slightly. So what I thought we'd do with this one is, you know, kind of very similar. We'll kind of keep it lovely and vintage, you know, just like the other one. Again, obviously I had printed off all the different images and things. Oh, sorry, I've knocked the lamp again. I've got a lot of things on this desk, so that's my excuse for obviously kind of knocking into things. So I'll just cut this one down. And the reason I thought we'd use this one really is just because obviously the other one was very red and brown and traditional colours, and this one's got a slightly more kind of blue hue to it, which I thought would just be kind of nice to do something a little bit different. So I'm just reaching into my little stash here of supplies that I bought for the purpose of doing the video. I bought along some blue coloured paper, so I just bring that in now. So, and we could have it obviously with the flourish or without. So if we go for it with the flourish, again I would just rough it up on the edge because I like doing that. So we'll pop that there. I'm just going to move a couple of these flowers out of the way because I don't think these obviously quite go now with this colour scheme. So now we could have the card this way up, which would be fine. Let me check them in frame so you know what I'm talking about. We could have it this way up, which would be fine. The only thing is obviously the card that we've just made got quite heavy with the embellishing, you know, which, I mean, hopefully this one will also, because obviously that's the kind of look that I'm hoping to kind of achieve, you know, because obviously that's really, really fun and really special to kind of make those really fancy, lovely cards. And then obviously when they're this way up, they often then kind of stretch out and obviously fall down. So if at all possible, it is better to kind of make them this way up, really. Obviously this particular image is not quite the right shape for the card to be this way up, so I'm just going to double check that I don't want to kind of use a different image. I don't think I've really got one with the kind of blue tones, so we'll just try and go for it anyway and kind of you know, try and fill up the blank space with some other bits and bobs really. So I think I had some other blue paper as well to either side. Let me just see whether I did or not. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't. Okay. So I've got the rest of that sheet music that we could obviously use. And oops. I did actually bring along this, which is actually an old Christmas card that I've been using obviously to kind of you know, just back things on. I just brought it along in case we kind of wanted to use it, so I'm just going to see whether this would kind of ink up at all. Really, it's not brilliant. I just wondered whether it would kind of ink up well enough to kind of be able to use it as a kind of another background with this image, because I thought then it would be rather nice and sparkly. I'm not sure about that, so we might or we might not. So for the minute, I'll just move that to one side. So I'm going to ink up obviously this image here. Like that. And then what we'll do, we'll glue this onto here. I'm actually not sure that I do want those the flourishes in there, so I might just kind of glue it down without the flourish. Come on, glue, play the game. Don't let me down today. Okay. I think the urge to do some Christmassy things came from when I was kind of creating my latest kit, which is going to be called Beautiful Birds, and I really am so pleased with it. It's really fun. It's got over 200 elements to it. It's 30 pages, but it's really nice. So, you know, really like it. But there's obviously the robin images, and I think that's what's kind of made me want to kind of play around with some Christmas cards, just by obviously seeing the robins was kind of like, oh, how cute, you know, oh, Christmas is coming, and just made me think, oh, I'd quite like to do some Christmas cards soon. So yeah, so as I say, I'm literally just kind of thought, well, while I'm doing them, shall I do them with you guys? You know, who knows, maybe you guys might actually kind of want to do some along with me. You know, kind of, I'm sure, as I say, you know, yours will probably fast past mine, but you know, it might kind of just be enough to kind of spur us all on. So I'm just literally kind of roughing this up, make it nice and vintage. Oops. Like that. And then I have actually got some doily that we could use. So I'll just bring that back in. Now obviously, you know, if I'm not going to have this landscape and I'm going to have it portrait, I am actually going to have to cover up quite a fair amount of the background. So I need to kind of think about this a little bit carefully to be able to do that. So what I might do, I might just wonder if I were to have this on here. So I'm just going to play around with this. I might or I might not use this, so please, you know, just bear with me for a moment, because it might be that I'm kind of cutting this out and then think, oh no, I'm not going to use that. So but I do love kind of you know, reusing things that otherwise are kind of wasted. So now obviously the thing is, that's kind of the width of the card, which, you know, may or may not be a little bit strange, unless we can obviously kind of somehow tie that in and kind of make that look generally awesome. So I also printed out these little cute labels here saying compliments of the season, which I thought were really sweet. So I'm going to cut one of those out. I thought I had some bigger ones actually as well, but I'm not sure whether I have that. I don't think I have. But what I have got as well is this kind of vintage advert. So, and this is a Christmas themed one with I think it's an advert for a Christmas exhibition, it says, with toys and things like that in it. So, sorry, I just standing up, kind of checking that I was still kind of in frame, because obviously once I'd kind of reached around and my chair had moved, I wasn't quite sure whether I was still. So we've got that, and then if I just cut this down, we've obviously got this one here. The whole compliments of the season. So I probably won't go with this thing, because it is quite ginormous, to be honest, but I just kind of thought it was worth having a little bit of a look. So if I just ink this one up. Oops. rough around the edge of this one now. Like that. This sort of here and here or something. Now if I were to not have this, well actually, let's just play around with having it for a moment. Obviously I've got that glittery ribbon, not ribbon, sorry, the glittery trim still, which we could kind of have somehow down here. Or kind of maybe off here. And then just wondering, got a blue bow which we could have on this one, although now to be honest that blue is quite lost and it doesn't necessarily look all that blue, you know, so the blue bow might not necessarily be quite right, if you see what I mean. So I did actually tie some other bows before I came along here, and now I'm not going to be able to find them. Let me just have a look and see if I can find them here in my other box of goodies here to the side. Oh, sorry, I'm just moving the lamp now completely. Also got my box of buttons there. Let me just have a look and rummage here and see whether I can find my little bows here that I brought along. And I've got this one. I also had a brown one, I think. Oh, and would you believe it? In this little pile here behind me, this has got the bone folder. So obviously we may do without it, so that's fine. Right, so I've got a corner stamp there as well, just in case we'd like to use that. But I've got these coloured bows, which these might be better here. So if we were to have that kind of like this, I've got some net here that we could kind of incorporate the net somewhere. If I just cut that down a bit. Like that. And then with regards to kind of having some flowers on here, because I do think the flowers are really quite pretty. So, well, what I might do, now do we want to go for this or not? Let's tear this down slightly so as it looks a bit more rustic. Actually, I'm going to tear it this way so as we don't have the, you know, the core of the paper kind of showing. Like that. Just tear this side. So I'm still undecided. You see, I mean, most of you probably are these amazing card makers. And if you've been crafting along with me, I have made that measly one card. And here I am now struggling with my second one to make it look quite how I want it to look. And you've probably made kind of 3 or 4 cards now. So, you know, this is probably not the best process video to do, but I just thought it was something really nice and really fun to do today. So, you know, because life's all about kind of variety, isn't it? Variety is the spice of life. So it's kind of just really nice to do something completely different for a change. So I'm just going to ink it up like this. And I'm going to kind of really try and use a lot of ink to get rid of that kind of silvery white kind of appearance. And luckily my ink pad is still quite juicy. Obviously now my ink pad's quite juicy and also covered in glitter. So all the glitter has now come off of here. So maybe that wasn't such a bright idea anyway, but so if we were to have that there, I'm just wondering, so if we had that here, and then kind of this sticking out here, I quite like that. So I'm going to stick this with the hot glue, because obviously this is that glittery kind of paper, you know, just to make sure it sticks very well and very firmly, because obviously the wet glue may resist, you know, may be a bit resistant to it. So that's why I've used the hot glue there. And then if we wanted to have that there with kind of the net just coming out here, kind of like that. And I also have some twine here, which I did wonder whether we could kind of just tie some twine around it. I don't think that probably, well, maybe. Let's stick the net down. So again, I'm just going to stick a little line of glue that I'm just going to kind of ruche that net up into the glue. You know, just so it's literally stuck on with no special way, no fancy order, just literally. I'm now really covered in hot glue, so oh gosh, please excuse me. I just am the worst crafter, kind of, literally, I say this so many times, but such a messy crafter. Right, and then we've obviously got this gorgeous trim here, so we can kind of layer that just here to the side, kind of over the top of there. Obviously what I'm trying to do is hide this, any white from around here, which this obviously isn't quite big enough to actually, you know, hide it. So I also found this little bit of rickrack, weirdly enough, when I was searching for things. So I've also got that I could actually just pop along somewhere. I don't know. Right, let's move that out of the way. Probably would have been better on the other one. So we could have that kind of here. And then if we wanted the compliments of the season, I'll just glitter this one, not glitter it, sorry, ink it up. Have it there. So I'm going to glue this one on now. And again, I'm going to hot glue this down so as it just sticks nice and easily and quickly. And I'm going quite kind of as low as I can possibly get before that white blank edge shows at the top, if you see what I mean. I hope that makes sense. So like that. And then you could have, now I'm just going to have a look before I commit myself to anything, you know. I've got these flowers here that again I've had for the longest time. They're really large actually, they're much bigger than I expected them to be. But I just wondered whether we could have had one of those on here somewhere. Probably not, but probably not, because unfortunately it's not kind of you know, glittery and kind of Christmassy looking. So that's kind of a bit of a shame, isn't it? Now I'm thinking, I'm just standing up now, just checking again that I'm in frame. What is actually missing from here is obviously the, you know, the background's looking quite plain to me. So I've also brought along my little box of tricks here, which I've got lots of different flowers in here. I've got lots of kind of just stamped things that I really love using in journals predominantly. But I just thought, let's have a look and just see whether there's anything that we could kind of use you know, for the Christmas card. So got here a barcode with the word treasured, so that's quite nice. Got here some frames. I always love using frames, so we could experiment with those. Now, I'm not saying these are going to look good, they may look dreadful. I've also got vintage adverts here that I've had again for the longest time, but I really, really love them. They were in a paper pack, which I never really buy two of the same paper pack, but this particular one I did. It was called something like Madame Payward or something. I don't know how you pronounce that. I'm sure I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong. But it was the most lovely paper pad. And actually I got some Christmas flowers there that I've forgotten all about. And another one. So yes, it was from that, and they really were the most lovely images. So that's the only reason that I'd kind of actually bought two of those. Let me just quickly double check whether there's anything else here that I've bought along with me. I did bring some blue lace, but it's obviously kind of a little bit bright for the kind of vintage look that we're going for, so I probably won't use that. So let's have a look, see what we can kind of do for the background. I have also got some of this paper, which again, I just literally picked up a bunch of scraps that were laying around. So we could kind of layer up some paper in the background, or I've obviously got that sheet music, which I forgot about. So we could layer that up. Actually, I've just torn the wrong bit, so we could layer it this way. Just like that. I'm wondering about those flowers, whether these flowers would actually kind of glitter at all or not. Let me just have a look through kind of anything else that's laying around here that I bought along. I've also bought along these paper flowers, which again, I've had these for a really long time. I do use them from time to time. I really love them still, but they're obviously not very vintage. I have kind of tried dyeing them and things like that in the past, or spraying them with the dilution sprays and things. So, I mean, you know, you can do things to kind of change their colours, but, you know, they are a little bit kind of bright, really. So, first of all, I'm going to just kind of ink up. Oh, sorry, I've just knocked the lamp again. Let's just ink up a couple of these flowers. That one's just got too much green still on it. I thought maybe the distressing it would kind of tone the green down, but it hasn't really. So I'll just do this one, but this one might be kind of the same in that we can't quite hide enough of the red and the green from it. Maybe. No, maybe not. So I'm just going to kind of distress this, and we'll just see whether we can kind of make this look vintage enough to be able to use here. Don't think it's going to work. Let me move that one out of the way. What we can do is obviously try glittering this one. And again, this may work, it may not. I haven't ever tried glittering these before, so please bear with me. I really should not do things just on camera like this, because it really is not the best to just try things out when you're kind of filming, and things can then just look diabolical. But sometimes I don't think of them until I'm actually filming, so and then I just think, oh well, let's give it a try. And actually, I mean, I guess it's quite useful for you guys, you know, if you've got these flowers, you then can kind of see what not to do, or or if things do work, you know, kind of think, oh, I could do that with some of mine maybe. So actually, I quite like that. I think that looks really nice. So let me just move this out of the way, the brush. Let's bring this back. Let's get rid of these flowers that we don't want, because they, I don't think, kind of look quite right. So what we could do, we could have a bit more of this lace trim. Oops, seem to have a knot in the middle of it there. Cut a little bit there. So let's distress ink the sheet music, because obviously that's letting the side down at the moment, looking very bright. This will probably now end up as the longest video I've ever done, I think, because it's going on and on. I haven't looked at the time recently, but it must be kind of getting on now. Now, I also had my Stays On ink pad here, so I'm going to ink up. I'm just going to ink up the corners, kind of as I would for a journal page, just so that literally we've got some kind of interest going on here if we decide to kind of not really do much else. So we're just literally inking up in the corners. And again, I mean, I don't pay any attention to kind of how I'm doing it. I just literally very randomly stamp. I'll just have a couple going down there like that. Pop that away. So what we'll do, we'll glue down the sheet music. Like that. I think I've lost my piece of tissue now to be mopping up the glue. There it is. That stuck there, like that, and we've got obviously this piece here. Then we could have some more lace kind of up here somewhere. So we've got this flower which is now very wet with the glitter, but I am really liking it, so you know, I'm glad that I glittered that, to be honest. It looks really pretty. So it's just a case now of deciding kind of what else we want and where we want things. So we could have this here. We've got some doily, as per kind of what we use on the journals. We could have that kind of poking out somewhere. That's quite nice there. So I might just pop that down. Might as well kind of pop things down as we like them. Just cut down a little bit on the time it's taking. Don't think I've ever done a video this long before, not that I've looked, but we must be over an hour. I think the longest I've ever done one, I think, was about 1 hour and 15 minutes. So we must be kind of rivaling that, at least, I would have thought. Let me have a look. Oops, 1 hour and 9 minutes we're at. So I've got that there. I think that looks really nice. And then what we could do, actually, I've just remembered, is the sentence with the kind of season's greetings, and you know, that I just typed. We could have something like that. So if I just cut that one that says "'Tis the season," we could tear that one. Like that. And then we'll just ink this up. If I can see my ink pad, I must put the lids straight on these things and move them straight out of the way, and then perhaps I wouldn't lose things quite so much while I'm doing these process videos. So let's move those to the side. Okay. No, there it is. So what we'll do, so we have actually, we've still got this one. Like that. I quite like that, I think, like that. And then obviously we did have that satin bow, which we could still have that somewhere. I always like a bow. I think bows just look so pretty. So let's have a bit of lace going across here. Now again, I'm going to glue this, I think, with the hot glue, because obviously it's got quite a lumpy surface that it's now sticking onto. So I'm just going to literally pop that down like that. You know, it just glues quicker, basically, is what I mean by that. And when it's sticking onto quite a lot of bumpy bits, that's what you need, is for it to just glue down nice and quickly. Like that. And then I had wondered about kind of tying that twine around. Probably won't, but we could try that. I sometimes see that done and think it looks really pretty, so could just kind of try it. Oops. Probably doesn't really kind of add anything very much, although we'll really tell when we take it away and then see actually it did. Pop that back there. And then we've obviously got that compliments of the season, which we could have here, or we could have it kind of poking out here. I haven't decided quite yet what to put in the middle of the flower, but I also earlier on just glittered up these butterflies here, so I'm just going to cut one out, which we could have one of these on. Thinking because these would tie in the gold glitter that's on the flower. So I mean, really, kind of, I guess the object of this was really, you know, just to have a nice play and kind of have a bit of fun doing something a bit different, but also to kind of, you know, kind of make cards by using literally what you have. So, you know, using the supplies you have to make Christmas cards rather than, you know, buying new things, which, you know, I know that I'm sometimes guilty of. So that hopefully kind of has been achieved to some extent. You know, I'm not sure whether it has fully, but did cut another piece of lace trim actually, didn't we? That we could have somewhere. Perhaps we should have that up there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to glue this little butterfly on. I would just glue him with the hot glue, just literally for speed. Pop that there. Then here, I'm just going to pop this Compliments of the Season down here. Now, I'm not going to stick this flower down just yet because I want to stick this main piece on first. So let's glue this down. I mean, as you can see, this one, I have just been using this to kind of dab my paintbrush off and things. So, you know, I really am just literally using, you know, what was on my desk and literally my kind of old scraps. So, you know, really kind of no need to kind of buy more things or, you know, anything like that. So literally kind of just using what you've got to make some pretty things. So we're just going to literally hot glue this on. Let's put a nice generous coating of hot glue, and then we'll just pop that down. Press it down firmly, make sure it's in place. And then we could have that up there. So before I stick anything else on, I'm going to rough the edges up, again, as I quite like doing. You know, I just think that kind of adds just a little bit of, yeah, depth, I suppose is the word. Depth to the card itself, or, you know, in a journal case, the embellishments or whatever. I mean, I don't always do it, don't get me wrong, but if anything's looking a little bit flat or a little bit kind of like it needs something else, I think it's quite an easy way and a quick way of just achieving something else without kind of actually having to, you know, stick something on that maybe doesn't necessarily look quite right. So that's why I quite like doing that, because I think it's quite a good way to achieve a bit more interest, I suppose, about it. And yeah, I always think that kind of works quite well. So that's that. Then we've got our 'Tis the Season. I'm going to pop that there. We've got our glitter that we're going to pop up here. And then we're going to stick on our glittered flower just over here. And now just working out what to put in the middle. But also I've got these little pearls here. Now these might be a little bit big, but I was going to say we could just have one or two here. Either we could have one each end. I quite like that sometimes when people do that. Or sometimes I quite like them kind of in a row of 3. But again, these might be a little bit big for this. Yeah, I think they are a little bit on the big side. So I'm just going to glue this flower down. Just want to make sure it's kind of firmly stuck, because these little petals are obviously quite, oh, what's the word? You know, they're quite long, so they need to be kind of stuck down on their own. So then we're going to pop this one down here. Let me just pop another glue stick in my glue gun in case it's running out. And again, I'm using the hot glue because obviously this is going to kind of go slightly over the silver background paper, which, you know, is probably quite resistant to the glue. So that's why I've used the hot glue there. So we could have a little pearl either end here. Looks quite pretty. And then obviously we've got this. Actually, what I also forgot, I've got this teeny weeny box. Now this was also left from my Christmas supply stash. You know, this is all I've got left of all my Christmas supplies, kind of, other than the scraps of paper. But in it, I've got these gorgeous reindeer, which I love these. And again, I'm down to just my last few, so that's why I've started now hoarding them rather than using them, if you see what I mean. But we could have had something like that somewhere here. It's probably too late now. I should have thought of that earlier, but maybe, you know, if you have enjoyed this video and, you know, you want to do some more kind of cards and things like that, or, you know, maybe a scrapbook layout or anything, let me know below, because, you know, we could come back and do some more. Obviously, if you're not really interested, you know, that's absolutely fine also. You know, feel free to let me know that too. But yeah, kind of in a kind way. But yeah, if you would like to do kind of more of these kinds of things, I don't mean instead of the journals, I just mean as well as, you know, because sometimes it's nice to do some different things, isn't it? Then, you know, we can always kind of mix it up and do some different crafts as well. So, oh, I must have not actually got any glue on that one. Must have just got it literally on my finger instead, so. Ugh, still on my finger, still not on the pearl. Right, there we go. So we've got that. Now, the only other thing left really is, do we want to have a bow here? Could have the bow in the flower. I just always love bows. I think they just look really pretty. But maybe we don't really need one. We haven't popped anything in the centre of that flower actually, and we haven't stuck this lace trim down, so we're just going to stick this down at the top. And then decide what to put inside that flower. Now I have got these little flowers here with me, or obviously I have got those brown ones actually that we used before. So let me just cut one of those. That's quite nice, isn't it? Or obviously the blue one, which we could maybe... I'm sure that I have tried distressing these before and it didn't work overly brilliantly because they're obviously quite tightly, let me check that I'm in frame actually, they're quite tightly obviously not bound, but you know, kind of held together. But we could distress it a bit and then put some glitter on, in which case, you know, that maybe kind of wouldn't really matter so much. Oh, that's quite nice, isn't it? So if we just try a little bit of glitter on here, just hold it by what's left of the stem. Oops. Okay. Oh, that's quite nice. So I'm just going to glue this in, and obviously just be a bit careful because it is now covered in glitter. Don't want to just wipe all the glitter off. I might now have to dab a little bit extra in. I have obviously wiped some off. Oops. There we go. Super pretty. Yeah, I really kind of like that. I think it looks really pretty, really cute. So I've had a nice time. I hope that you guys have had a nice time. And yeah, I mean, this really was just a kind of experiment. So, you know, it was just, I fancied doing this and just thought, hey, let's have a bit of fun together. So, you know, just kind of, yeah, if you just let me know below if you've kind of quite enjoyed this, or, you know, if it's something that you wouldn't mind doing some of, you know, some more of, then obviously we can do that. Obviously, you know, that's fine. If it's not kind of your bag, that's obviously fine too. You know, because obviously it's not everybody's, is it? So just kind of playing around now, seeing whether it needs anything else. I quite like that flower kind of somewhere else, but can't quite decide where. Oh well. Perhaps we won't bother, perhaps it's got enough. Oops, oh, what about there, just poking in at the side? Yeah. Let's pop it in there. So again, I'll just put some hot glue on. And we'll just pop that in that little gap. Just touch up the gold. Like that. Okay. Super pretty. So again, obviously that's it stood up. Not that obviously you guys will probably be able to see that, but you know, just checking you see that it's not too front heavy, that it will still stand up. So yeah, really like it and had quite a lot of fun making those. So let me just check the time. Wow, we are like at an hour and 26. So I do apologise for keeping you all so long. I just really was having a lot of fun. So that's our 2 cards that we've made, our 2 Christmas cards. I had a real lot of fun making them. Now, just in case, kind of, you know, if you're not a card maker, or you haven't made any kind of bulky cards like this, you know, I'm sure that most of you probably have, but you know, obviously you could make a box to put them in, or you could kind of get a bigger envelope to put them in or something like that. But what I actually quite like doing sometimes is just binding them with some ribbon. So I've got some ribbon here to the side, you know, excuse the fact that it's not obviously kind of colour-wise matching the cards. I won't do it with this one because obviously that flower's still quite wet with the glitter glue. But I actually quite like just tying them with a bow. Now, obviously, this is not the right bow ribbon. It's too thick. It's not the right colour. You know, multiple reasons why it's not the right ribbon. But I'm just kind of giving you an idea of kind of how I would possibly gift this to somebody. I think that looks really pretty, and obviously if that were a matching ribbon, which obviously I would make sure it was, that's, I think, you know, much nicer than an envelope, and you know, create something a little bit special to kind of give to somebody. So that's kind of just a little idea that I think is rather nice. You know, I have done that in the past. I've made wedding cards before that are very bulky, and rather than kind of make a boring box, I've kind of bound them with some, you know, pretty ribbon, which I think is, you know, kind of a little bit special and kind of makes it that little bit more special for someone to receive. I'm just checking here whether kind of you could do it with this kind of lace. Again, I mean, this isn't quite right, and obviously I should have brought along some ribbon to kind of demonstrate this, but oops, just to kind of give you a bit of an idea. Again, you could obviously, you know, tie this, you know, or you could even just tie it with my favourite thing, with some string. And, you know, again, that would make it really quite pretty to receive. But, I mean, I just think there's something kind of a bit different about that, and, you know, something a bit nicer than just a boring old envelope or a kind of box. So that's how, you know, I would kind of give these to people, is kind of bound just with some ribbon or maybe some string, maybe some twine, kind of depending on the card, whether the twine kind of would complement it. I mean, possibly the twine would kind of complement this one quite nicely. I'll be gentle and kind of avoid that flower that's still drying. Yeah, let's just try that. And then actually what you could do is just kind of pop on something else, a little bit glittery or something, onto the twine there. So, I mean, I just think that's really, really nice. You know, just something a little bit different, and yeah, I actually think kind of looks nicer than an envelope, really. So that's kind of how I would give these, and how I have given things like this in the past. So that's just my kind of take on it. Obviously you guys probably have much better ideas and, you know, other ideas, and, you know, it's great that we can kind of all share our suggestions, really. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I know it's been very rambling and, my gosh, very, very long. But I really enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys did too. So if you did, I'd love to hear your comments below. I'd love to hear whether you would like to actually kind of have more of these videos. And yeah, I hope that you have some fun kind of making some Christmas cards, or other cards, you know, and I will catch up with you soon. So thanks very much for watching, and have a great day. Thank you. Bye.